Okay, so on the left-hand side here, I have the equation x minus h is squared over a squared minus y minus k is squared over b squared equals 1. So the fact that I see x in the first fraction, that tells me we're still going to be opening left and right, okay? But what's different now is we have our center being shifted. It's now at the point HK, which would be right here. And of course, that's going to have an effect on the vertices, the covertices, etc., right? So for your vertices, they come from the A value, which is that first denominator, right? So if I am opening left and right, that means from the center, I have to move A units right, A units left to get to the vertices. So the coordinates are going to become H plus or minus A, K. So that would give me these 2 points. The covertices come from B, which is from the second denominator. They would be above and below the center. So the coordinates for those would be H, comma, K plus or minus B. The length of your major axis is still 2 times A. That's the distance from the vertex to the other vertex. Your foci still come from C. And remember, C is the biggest number, right? To where C squared equals A squared plus B squared. And the foci are in line with the vertices. So I'm going to move left and right from the center. The coordinates will be H plus or minus C, comma, K. All right, and then your asymptotes. Your asymptotes go through the center, right? So I can use the center as a point on the line, and then I have to reason out my slope. Okay, so think, in this case, if I start at the center, I rise B units, and then I run A units to get to a second point on the line. So the slope of that is B over A, and the slope of the other one would be negative B over A, right? Okay, well, take into account that the center is no longer at the origin. This is a great time for point slope form. Y minus K equals plus or minus B over A times X minus H. Okay? All right, the equation on the right-hand side, I've switched the position of X and Y. So now I see Y is in the first numerator before subtraction. That tells me we open up and down. My center is going to be at HK. All right, now I think I got a typo here. I meant for that to be K and that to be H. Is everybody okay with that? All right, so change that for me. All right, your vertices then still come from A, but you got to go up and down to get to them now from the center. So if the center's at HK, if I go up A units or down A units, that's going to place me at H, comma, K plus or minus A. Covertices would be here and here. They come from B. You're moving left and right, so H plus or minus B, comma, K. Length of the major axis, still 2A. Foci come from C. You're moving up and down to get to the foci. So H and then K plus or minus C. All right, and then what do you think the slopes are of the asymptotes this time? Yeah, just be A over B instead of B over A. So y minus k equals plus or minus A over B times x minus h. Okay. All right, so example 5. Looking at the equation, which way do we open? Left and right. That's because I see x in the first fraction. What are the coordinates of the center? 3, negative 1. Plot that. Okay, what is our a value? Comes from the first denominator, right? So 5. A gives me my vertices. So I've got to move, if you said we opened left and right, I've got to move 5 right and 5 left. So the vertices would be that's negative 2, negative 1, and 8, negative 1. What's my b value? 4. So I'm going to have to move 4 up and 4 down from the center. So that'll move me to 3, 3, and 3, negative 5. Length of the major axis is 2 times your a value of 5, so that's going to be 10 units. All right, to get my foci, c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So that's 25 plus 16, or 41. That means c is radical 41. And I'm going to add and subtract that to the x coordinate of the center to get my foci. So 3 plus or minus radical 41, comma, negative 1. Okay, so radical 41 is a little bit larger than what? 6 units, right? So that places me right about there, right about there. Okay, now let's draw in the rectangle that passes through the vertices and the co-vertices. And the whole point of doing this is to be able to draw the asymptotes, right? Asymptotes will go through the center of the hyperbola and the vertices of that rectangle. And we said we opened left and right, so here's the left side of the hyperbola. Here's the right side. Okay, now for the asymptotes, if we start at the center and try to get up to here to the right top vertex, we're rising 4, we're running 5. So the slope of that is 4/5. The slope of the other one would be negative 4/5. And now account for we're passing through that center of 3, negative 1. That means the equation would be y plus 1 equals plus or minus 4/5 times x minus 3. Yes?
Could you go back to the previous slide just for a second?
Sure.
Okay.
You good?
Yep.
Okay. Questions? All right, example 6. Okay, so this one is in general form. We've got to put it into the standard form first. That's going to require some completing the square. So let's reorder things. Y squared and 2y, let's put those together with a blank. Okay, and then we want to notice the x squared term's got a coefficient of -9, right? So we got to factor a -9 from here and from here. What's that going to make the 36x turn into? If I factor a -9 from it. Yeah, it's going to be -4x plus blank. Okay, and then I'm going to move the 44 over to this side, plus blank, plus blank. Okay, complete the square on y, you'll get a 1. Nothing out in front to multiply it by, so put a 1 over here. Complete the square on x, you get a 4. What should the other side be? Yeah, -36. 4 times -9, right? Okay, factor y plus 1 squared minus 9 times x minus 2 squared. Let's see, that's going to be 45 minus 36. That's just 9. And now we'll divide the 9 out so that we are set equal to 0, or equal to 1.
Can we leave it as not being over y? Could we just leave it as x minus 2 squared?
Yeah, that's fine. You don't have to put the denominator of 1, technically.
Would it be considered not simplified?
No, that's still valid.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so looking at this equation, which way does this open? Up and down. That is because y is in the first fraction before the subtraction. Okay, what is the center? Careful.
2, -1.
Positive 2, -1. We good with that? All right, what is our a value?
3.
Yeah, it comes from the first denominator, right? So a is 3. Should we add and subtract 3 from the x or the y coordinate of the center?
The y.
Yes, let me start plotting things here. So here's the center. We said we opened up or down, so we've got to go 3 up and 3 down. So that's going to give me 2, -4, and 2, 2. What's your b value?
1.
1. So we just have to go 1 right and 1 left of the center. So that's going to place me at 3, -1, and 1, -1. Length of the major axis, 2 times 3, or 6 units. Foci, c squared equals a squared plus b squared, so that's 9 plus 1, or 10. So that means c is radical 10. Add or subtract that to the x or the y coordinate of the center. The y coordinate, good. So this is going to be 2, -1 plus or minus radical 10. Now radical 10 is a little larger than 3, right? So just estimate the locations of those. Okay, draw in your rectangle going through the vertices and the co-vertices. Now draw your asymptotes. sketch your hyperbola. There's the upper half, there's the lower half. Okay, now what are the slopes of those asymptotes? Yeah, 3 and -3, right? You got to rise 3, run 1. Okay, so take the center into account that the asymptotes pass through. So we're going to have y plus 1 equals plus or minus 3 times x minus 2.